If you're currently in your 40s and your 50s and you're really struggling to lose weight, I can highly imagine that you're pinning it back to something being wrong with your metabolism. You also may think that because you've been dieting your adult life, you've ruined your metabolism, it's crashed multiple times, and you just don't know what to do, and losing weight seems impossible for you. So in this video, we're going to change all of that thought process. I'm going to talk you through how your metabolism works, and it's going to put your mind at ease so you can walk away from this knowing exactly what you need to be doing moving forwards to start losing weight. So firstly, we need to understand what actually is your metabolism. In simple terms, the way that I describe it is that it's the chemical changes that are happening inside your body on a day-to-day basis to keep you alive. The functions of your organs, your brain, how you digest food, how you create energy. Literally everything that's happening inside your body on a day-to-day basis is a chemical change, and it's called your metabolism. Your metabolism isn't something that can just suddenly crash. It isn't something that you can kickstart. It isn't something that needs a boost. In the fitness and the dieting industry, to be honest, it's a bit of a buzzword. People like to use it to promote certain products. You've probably seen it before. Take this shot to boost your metabolism, or drink this smoothie because it will help boost your metabolism, or do this metabolism boosting workout or exercise. You almost want to just cut all of that noise out. Anything that you see about your metabolism, you almost need to expect that it's not true, which is crazy to think about that we actually need to say that in this day and age. But like I said, you're going to walk away from this video understanding it a lot more. So your metabolism is broken down into 4 things. These 4 right here, or mainly, to be honest, this is what your metabolism would be classed as, your BMR. Your metabolic rate. So before we get into any of these 3, we have to understand what this is. Your BMR is the amount of calories that your body burns per day just at rest, and you have 0 control over this number. It's through the functions of basically keeping you alive. If you're a bigger person, your metabolic rate is going to be a little bit higher in comparison to being a smaller person. And that's because if you're bigger, your body will just naturally require more energy on a day-to-day basis in comparison to someone being smaller. So like I said, you cannot control this. It's an uncontrollable. However, you can control these 3. This section is called NEAT, which means non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Sounds a bit foreign, but basically this means movement. Every time you move your body on a day-to-day basis, whether that's going out for a walk, whether that's cleaning, whether it's doing house chores, whether it's me sat here fiddling my hands, it requires energy to do that. And that would fall under this section of NEAT. And that's why when people say about losing weight or going on a diet, most people would set someone a step target. It promotes more movement, it promotes more calorie expenditure. The next one is the thermic effect of food. In English, it basically means digestion. So when your body is taking food in on a day-to-day basis through protein, carbohydrates, and fats, it requires energy to break it down in the body. Each macronutrient has a different thermic effect, which we won't go too much in detail with, but basically when you're consuming food, it requires energy to break it down. So that's a section of how you burn calories on a day-to-day basis. And the last one, and the most surprising one, is something called EAT, which is exercise activity thermogenesis. This is essentially you going to the gym or you doing any planned exercise. Of course, when you do exercise, it burns calories, but not as much as you think, which we'll go into in a moment. So your BMR is roughly 60 to 70% of the calories that you burn on a day-to-day basis. This is what it takes up. That's why when people get quite ill and they have to lie in bed all week and they can't do any movement and they can't really eat much, they still lose weight because their body is still burning calories. The NEAT section takes up around 15%, which is the biggest one that you have control over. Again, that's why it's really important that if your goal is to lose weight, you're trying to be as active as you can. Thermic effect is 10% of the calories that you burn on a day-to-day basis, which is quite a lot. That's why protein is so important when it comes to losing fat, because protein has the highest thermic effect. And again, it's why most people would set someone a protein goal when it comes to trying to lose weight. Lastly, EAT, which is the most surprising one, is only 5%. And the reason it's only 5% is because if you look at your week right now and you think of all of the training that you do, the hours that it would take to do it isn't that much in comparison to your week. That sounds very confusing, but let me explain. If you go to the gym 3 times a week right now, and it's 40 minutes of training each time, that's 2 hours out of your whole week. There is 168 hours in the week. So the ratio of time spent exercising in comparison to living and moving and breathing and eating food is very minimal. That's why you only burn 5%. Obviously, that's a discrepancy to athletes, okay? If you're exercising for 4 hours a day, obviously that section is going to be a little bit higher. So this is a very confusing board, but hopefully you understand that a little bit more. And this essentially is what your metabolism is. So let's clear that up and go into the next bit. So let's relate this back to weight loss. So if you're someone that, let's say for example, is 80 kg and you go on a diet. So your start point is 80 kg. you have a certain amount of calories that you burn on a day-to-day basis at 80 kg. For this example, we're only going to focus on the BMR section, the one that you can't control, the amount of calories that your body burns at rest day to day. So let's say at 80 kg, your BMR is 1,800. If you were to add on top the other things, the calories that you burn from steps and from digesting food and from exercise, that might take your maintenance calories up to 2,200. Obviously, this is just an example. Your body requires 2,200 calories to maintain its weight on a day-to-day basis. If you wanted to go on a diet and start losing weight and you were to go into a 300 calorie deficit per day, which would be fairly reasonable, you would have to eat 1,900 calories. This is where weight loss would occur for you. Let's say you stuck this diet out for 8 months and you've done really well, you were being super consistent and you got down to 65 kg. So you lost 15 kilos. Because you've lost 15 kilos and over time you've become a smaller person, your BMR also changes. Because when you're a smaller person, your body doesn't require as much energy on a day-to-day basis. So what was 1,800 might go down to 1,500. This only happens when you lose the weight. It doesn't happen if you try and diet for a long period of time and you're dipping your toes into different things, but you don't lose weight. Your metabolism cannot crash or it cannot come down if you are not becoming smaller over time. Now you have a new maintenance calories that's less from the old one. This is how your metabolism changes over time. It doesn't change in any other way. As you get older, it starts to come down slightly, but only when you pass 60 years old. That's what the studies show. But generally, your metabolism is only going to go up and down through changes in mass, whether that's muscle mass or whether that's fat mass. This is why sometimes it's really important to ignore all of the noise that you see online about your metabolism or about how it can crash. Because essentially, it does you more harm than good. Because you think if you're struggling to lose weight, it must be a metabolism issue. And you try and address that rather than addressing actually what's going on, which could be overeating on the weekend, not tracking calories properly, not being consistent. Those are generally the points that you need to look to if you're struggling to lose weight. It never really is a metabolism issue. So hopefully this video allowed you to understand that a little bit further and clear all of that up. And if you enjoyed it and you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and put a like on this video too.